And the lull that we ended the last video with continues in this one as we move into the 11:30 a.m. turn. Union 20th Corps moving on the map. It's not all here. The commander's not on the board yet. I think he comes in with Rosecrans over here. And we got a beginning to dig in over here under Hood's Corps. And we got Buckner's units moving up into place to get their way up there, but no real view that either side has as to what the hell to do. The Union victory conditions, I'm trying to remember. I know the Confederate ones are to get the entry hexes over here. The Union ones, I feel a little bit more confident with the Union here at this point. They want D, E, and F as kind of, and that's the opposite corner. And, well, I'm not quite sure how to get there right now, although if 20th Corps is coming in here, there's kind of an appealing looking gap that I could strike there. In either case, though, the victory condition and the exit hexes that need to be controlled are largely sitting in really defensible high terrain. It's less so over here, but you still got these dots, which I believe mean extreme slope, and that's going to give you some advantages on the fire table. As we push along to noon, most of the entrenchment over here, that's all completed. The Union's got an army commander now on the board. They can actually write orders now. Rosecrans. And whatever the Reserve Corps is doing here, they wish they could stop, but yeah, a unit just melted completely that was right here at the bridge, but they managed to route the artillery off the bridge, well, ford. Bragg sent, couldn't be much worse, sent orders to Buckner and to start an advance. I'm going to try to get Buckner to swing around this way. We'll see how that works out. Right now, this whole section looks kind of weak on the Union side, whereas I have a fairly hefty corps, actually, right? Buckner's a corps commander. I have a fairly hefty, healthy corps ready to move into place. And that, I feel a little uncomfortable with one of my zones behind their line. They haven't gone back and walked over to it. I could detach a unit to go do that, but then all that means is the Confederates detach a unit to go there until it comes to a point where, well, I mean, I could detach one to go sit there, but that would pretty much put it out of command fairly easily. Not command, but out of communications in terms of it wouldn't be able to get ammo resupply or anything like that. So that's not a healthy thing to have happen. I kind of like to more just approximate and say, this is pretty much, at least at this stage in the game, this is pretty much under Union control. I could take it whenever I want and thereby get the victory points for it, but it's early in the game still. Certainly until tomorrow, I don't have to worry about that. As we roll into 12:30, Buckner got his attack orders from Bragg, and he said, "Screw that, man." No. Just crumpled them up and threw them on the ground. So Polk can issue orders again to do that, but it didn't go through this time. Otherwise, nothing really happening. Union forces moving slowly up and taking position with Thomas, that's all. As we push to, 1 p.m., I kind of screwed up I just tend to do this, and gave both sides, I gave the Union and couldn't really go back and fix that, both sides an extra straggler recovery phase. No biggie there, a couple of strength points, right? And we'll probably get another one this turn when they're supposed to. can see some beginning of entrenchments there. Thomas has gone to talk to Rosecrans. Rosecrans is going to probably try to be a little bit more active here than he was historically. What I'm seeing is Bragg kind of doesn't feel like doing much. He got hurt pretty bad here. And he's got some pile of troops coming in next turn. Maybe he'll start trying to work out a strategy. But right now Rosecrans is planning on having Thomas at least push forward to here to help cover this gap here. He's afraid of these units kind of hanging out there. That's not really very active. But then he wants to get McCook's 20th Corps moving, maybe against the flank here. Now, part of McCook's 20th, strangely enough, under a very poorly rated Sheridan, guess he didn't do too well this battle, is supposed to go defend the bridge here. Well, I got plenty of troops there. What I want to do is also send orders to get their ass up here to join a 20th Corps overall assault coming down this way. Now, this is kind of a tricky attack that I'm looking at, because I don't know if I want to just plow through the woods. It's hard to keep a command structure going through something like that, but I certainly don't want to hit it head on. That's the way the breastworks are all facing, running across here, so I got to be kind of careful about all that. But I feel like I have, as the Union, the advantage in force right now, actually, even if not in the long term. I don't know. I'm getting Hill here. Longstreet doesn't come in until here, and that's when I feel like the Confederates have their strongest position. So I kind of would like to gain some ground before we have that wing structure in place that might be very flexible and powerful. Okay, as we roll into the 2 o'clock turn, we got D.H. Hill bringing his corps into play. That's Cleburn's division right there. You know, that's going to be good stuff. It's not that great. There's 1A and 2Bs, but for this battle, wow. You know, Buckner, I sent some more orders to Buckner. We'll see if he listens this time. Same orders. And he's pretty much dissolved the Union Reserve Corps, which was enough for me to say, hey, the Union's definitely in a deteriorating position this turn, and they ended up losing a point. The points are high though right now, 5 and 4, so we're not going to see much effect from them as long as they stay kind of uppish. Yeah, 2:30 fighting is completely stopped. The Reserve Corps pulled out, finally breaking off its attack. Orders aren't at Buckner yet. He'll probably throw him out again. You know, some more shit me. Some more digging in down here. And this is more of Thomas's corps coming in here. What else? Well, yeah, the reason I actually came on was I wanted to comment that the doing the straggler recovery every turn, okay, sure, it's a little less painful than doing it in line of battle, but it kind of makes me miss the line of battle once a day bothering with it. Just because that makes it so much easier. Just here's a whole chunk of stragglers back. On the other hand, I really do like the tracking, the detail of the tracking that CWB and RSS have, as opposed to the LOB's, hey, you get 25% back, because that's about what you're going to get, you know. Units with bad morale are going to have more stragglers, and they're going to get more stragglers back because they have more, even if they might not get them all back. It works out fine in LOB. It's just I like the detail of information, knowing how many actual casualties I've caused and how much is, you know, how much is guys coming back. I like the die rolls and all that, but it is kind of tedious. Really cool aspect of the CWB system for me, the orders primarily are at fault for this, is you start to see situations developing. You're aware they're going to happen. They aren't what you planned, and you can just see that, you know, your plans are going awry. So, for example, here, Hill's orders are to march north along this road. I don't have names on the roads, unfortunately, in this game. They updated that with the newer games for the most part. And then to take these forces from the west. Okay, well, that's great, except that now the 14th Corps has some of that covered, and there's another division that's going to come up and be in place here, and it's going to be actually impossible. They're going to be hitting kind of a corner of solid troops instead of what they thought was empty space. Now, the way you can kind of reconcile that is there's a fair amount of intelligence likely actually available, which is why I like the scout counters if you are going to play with the hidden movement, because the hidden movement just makes things way too hidden. But in this case, you're still getting that effect of poor scouting. Now, I could write new orders for DHL if I want to. Right now, it's not absolutely clear to the Confederates where these forces are going. But it is clear that the 14th is in here now, that I don't just have a clear path up that's absolutely safe, that I'm going to have some exposure. I still think it looks good enough that I'm not willing to change my orders yet. By the way, nobody's taken new orders yet. Buckner and Hill are both sitting on their orders considering them. I am making a ruling that Buckner with his orders can't entrench because he's got attack orders awaiting. So, you know, as long as he's not distorted them and thrown them away, as long as he's got a delay in place, my figuring is he's doing stuff to prepare for that advance, in which case he can't start digging in under those circumstances. He can't make a roll to do so. I kind of like how, you know, I fudge things all along, but that makes my experience more enjoyable and richer. And it's actually one of the reasons that I prefer solo play to opposed play. If I started making up rules and suggesting them continuously throughout play, I think most people would be pretty unhappy with that. Unless we were just kind of trying to, hey, let's hammer this out and try to make this a better game as the goal of the thing. But that's always my goal when I'm playing a game solo. And it's like, okay, well, you know, maybe I've not played it very often, so I need to get familiar with it. But once I get used to a game, instead of becoming competitive at it, I try to think about how I can make it suit my tastes more. The Confederates made a small mistake over here in 330. They moved a cannon into this hex, which allowed some artillery that's in breastworks to open up on them. You really don't want to have artillery available to be seen by the enemy. It's underneath the infantry, which is really the problem, because it's not just breaking up the artillery there, which probably won't serve much purpose in the offensive in this wooded terrain. But wow, lost a unit, dropped a shaken marker on it. This was the Confederate turn, so that shaken marker goes away. But he's going to be stuck there taking fire for a little while, and that's going to prevent a unit that really needs to recover. This BSB is not in good shape. Over here, let's see. There it is. Well, it's only one down, but it may take more stragglers due to the fire, so it's not going to be pleasant for them. Got some more stuff on the move. The 20th Corps is beginning its attack through the woods. Some of it has to catch up. Meanwhile, I'm also gathering D.H. Hill to tell him to call his units back. He's got Breckinridge's command down here, going to defend the mill here. I need those troops for whatever he's doing. I may write him new orders, just because this attack is beginning to look pretty hopeless. And if I see this moving forward, wow, I'm not sure. You know, maybe I need to extend the line down there. We'll see how that develops by the point at which I'm actually writing orders for him. Pushing to the 5 p.m. turn, we see couple interesting things happening over here. First of all, 20th Corps is pushing forward, so Bragg gave new orders to Hill, accounting for that, which is collect up his corps and head up to try to cover this. These are complex orders. I realize I'm going to have to fight my way through. At the same time, without orders, I'm pushing, well, Hood's division, but it's under law because Hood's the corps commander, forward to try to screen this side of things because we're aware that there's movement over there. Otherwise, that would just be a corps failure. That may happen anyway. It's looking kind of scary to me. But, yeah, Buckner's still got his orders over here. Oh, I think I recovered this guy and he had a shaking on him. Oh, well. I don't think he succeeded in recovering. All right. Here we are at 5:30 and we're beginning to see the Union engaging here. They got pushed back in a couple of cases, lost a leader over here. Hood's troops are, well, under law, are doing a pretty good job of holding them off right now. Hill still hasn't moved, but there's a lot more coming in, more than I can handle with just that one division, so I had better get my ass in gear. I find myself making two mistakes rather frequently. One is screwing up and rolling on the half hours instead of the hours, and I've been kind of doing it consistently, which is problematic. For the straggler recovery, and I keep meaning to try to get back onto the hour schedule. By the time I'm almost at nighttime, so it should correct itself there. I don't know why it's happening. You know, I'm familiar with the system. I should be able to tell, but I keep misreading or misremembering what it means. Perhaps because I just did it the last time. I remember not to do it because I'm trying to get back on schedule, and then because I didn't just do it, I remember to do it, and that's okay. What's been more problematic is optional units. They're not well distinguished in this. Now, there is a statement on them here that says optional, but my little eyes, or my poor eyes, don't see that. And likewise over here, this is where I'm catching it, is when I look here. I can see that a little better because it's the black and white. Anyhow, that's a problem that I have with CWB games. They throw so many different options in, etc. And in this case, a lot of those optional units are part of a formation that's on the board. And the formation is, in the scenario setup, you're just told put that formation there. So I don't really look too carefully. Later games start telling you minus this unit, you know, to just help you remember you're not supposed to put the optionals on. And actually, it goes beyond that. There's a couple of artillery pieces that aren't even marked optional in this game that shouldn't be on the field. Now, I caught those right away because there was kind of a, hey, remember to put these in because, you know, it's in the errata, actually. These should be marked optional. Make sure to take them out of play if you're not playing with that option. But, yeah, that's been kind of a general problem. Well, we'll see how this kind of develops. The Union's coming in kind of in a scattered sort of way, so I don't know, they're sort of straggling their way over there. I also sent Wilder, who I can't even find on here. I think he's part of a unit, but that's the Confederates. That would be a good reason. I think he's part of a unit that's in the game. Oh, there he is. Okay. I probably was looking at the Confederate sheet. No, I was looking at the Union. I just didn't see him because he's way at the top. Anyway, I was kind of worried, what am I going to do if he's not, you know, on the chart? Because I'm pretty sure he's not in the errata. But yeah, I'm sending him around because he's my one loose unit. I've sent some orders to the Cav, but they're intended to move down here and strengthen the line here. I'm really hoping to break this. And I've got, what, Crittenden? Having a little conversation with Rosecrans. Maybe to send 2 of his divisions up to try to break that. His divisions are kind of worn out from the earlier fighting, but There's not a lot here, and if I can just crush them at this point, I think that puts me in a much, much stronger position, because then my line, sure, I don't have to worry about this. This is impenetrable or prohibited movement. But I protect this river line, I protect up at Hall's Ford, and then I have this sickle going from there. That's what I'm envisioning for what I want to have held at the end of the day, which is coming quite quickly. I probably won't have time to do it, but it's always good to have optimistic goals, right? That's what drives the games for me, is I have this picture from one side or the other. That's very much how, when I'm playing opposed, I have this picture of what I want to get done, and it just, it's like work. It never actually happens quite how you picture it. And now as we push into 6:30, we can see the fighting still going on down here. I'm shifting over. I don't know what JPD stands for. I'm really not sure. Johnson's something. I don't know. But that's what that division is labeled as. The good news, though, is we're getting really threatened here, and at least I know the Union's got orders to march up this way, if Crittenden gets around to it. Is Hill's command is marching forward, so Breckenridge and who's that? Cleburne. Good stuff, really good stuff. Is coming forward to help cover that. And they've got actually offensive orders to try to clear to this river line here. So I don't think Hood's necessarily going to collapse, but it's going to be a close run thing. And the only thing kind of helping us is it's almost nighttime. Now, as the early part of dusk hits here at 7 p.m. And now the range to view is to trace line of sight for fire or whatever is 8 hexes. It goes down to 3 in the next, and then we go into full night, which makes it harder to succeed at continuing attacks. But anyway, as dusk is falling, we see Cleburne struck and pounded into the flank of the Union line. Elsewhere, we kind of pulled back, some ammo resupply. Hit some artillery pounding on this limbered gun out here. I kind of got a little over ambitious in terms of thinking it was safe because I was putting enough pressure on. Nah. It looks like Buckner and Crittenden aren't really going to get into the fight on either side. Might want to issue them orders saying, just let's wait until morning. We'll rethink things at night. But yeah, I don't think this is. It's possible because this is the hex where the headquarters is, so we could end up chasing Hood's command out of there. How big a deal is that? I don't know, because trying to hold the ford here looks tough. In terms of, I'd have to kind of hold something here, so I kind of need this position here. So if that attack doesn't get called off before it gets overrun, I'm not thrilled with the Confederate position. I may have to pull Polk's units out of there, and that's problematic because this is a victory point hex, and that'll kind of put the onus of the attack on the Confederates. Now, in the historical situation, the Confederates actually continued the attack after they held terrain sufficient to win the scenario, I think. But, I think I've been forgetting about doing this shit. Which sucks, because there was an interesting turn last turn in terms of the Confederates feeling like they were under a lot of pressure, and now I feel like they improved. I'll do rolls for both turns. Here we are at 7:30. Both sides think their situation improved, and both armies are at status 5, so they're not gonna go anywhere. The status chart, if you're a positive, it doesn't allow you to go down, whereas if you're saying you're negative, you may still go up. Why do both think they are? Well, the Union, because they uncovered the 1st Corps headquarters, and they think they're going to force those guys into an emergency retreat. And they will. It's automatic unless the 20th Corps fails to move forward. Now, the 20th Corps is in pretty damn bad shape, though. 2 divisions out of 3 are wrecked at this point. Cleburne and Breckinridge have just demolished it. They charged forward into this hex, one of Breckinridge's units, and overall they caused tremendous casualties. They had like 3 shots that caused 2 hits each. That's these low ammo markers. There's one under Cleburne there too. So also got some enfilade fire from this artillery that didn't do much, but that's always a neat thing to see. You know what I didn't do? I didn't check this guy. BH1. I gotta see if he can recover. I didn't check him because he's part of Hill's Corps, but he can reform back here. Most of Hill's Corps I didn't have a chance to check because they're all doing stuff. As night falls. Fighting's still going on around here, but the Hood Division Corps has pulled out. Emergency withdrawal, took some extra stragglers for that. But we still have Hill, his corps, coming on. Now, even Cleburne got driven back here. We're not in night penalty yet. That comes up now on this next turn, but as of right now, as of this turn, it didn't happen. But we drove the Union back here. Chances are very good. It's all 3 divisions broken now, that the Union will fail to continue their attack. It's pretty hopeless if they do continue it. On the other hand, they've pretty much cleared the space they intended to. I've set up so that I can cancel my orders to Crittenden so he doesn't launch his attack. Although at this point, that attack may not be such a bad thing. It puts me into these positions, but I'm not sure which way I want to go with that. Bragg rescinded his orders to Buckner and saying, let's figure out what we're going to do tonight. And he called Polk over to go confer with him. He kind of wants to pull Polk out of here. So the Confederate victory spaces are back here. That's what they have to defend. And he's defending too much frontage for what he needs to do as far as he can see. So what he'd like to do is maybe pull back. It's a little risky in terms of what it opens up, but pull back to this woods line and see if he can come up with a corps to swing around behind here and just destroy that. Well, certainly he could send Buckner over that way and maybe send another one. But the terrain is so ugly and the road's so limited through it that he may just want to follow this road that he's looking at using with Buckner and just try to roll up the Union flank that way and kind of ignore what's going on down here. 20th Corps is hosed. It's pretty much out of the game as far as I can tell. Although, well, there's a lot of stragglers here, but you can look. This unit is wrecked on stragglers, but these others are really close. These guys, not in great shape, but they can recover. Up here in the 1st Division, that's pretty hosed. So, you know, it's really not something that I want to fight with. And I don't know, really all the Union units are somewhat damaged, even the Thomas's 14th Corps. And it's not like I have a lot coming on. I got one more Union unit here. This is a tough battle for them numerically. I think they're doing very well in terms of aggressive movements and everything. You know, Rosecrans is fighting this a lot more effectively than he did historically, but he's outnumbered, and that's a tough situation. How do people feel? I think both people feel negative. They felt positive last time. But that's not going to budge them. Low rolls are good on that. On the 8 p.m. turn, Hood's core, first core, is beginning to gather up where it was pulled off. Bragg gave orders to Buckner not to follow his orders that he's been ignoring. And now he's got, oh no, I'm sorry, he gave orders to Polk. He gave orders to Buckner earlier. He's got Hood come by. He's going to give him some more orders. Polk's orders are to kind of pull back to about here. We're going to pull Hood back, maybe to cover this area in here, and then see if we can get Hill moving around the flank. I don't know. I kind of want to give Hill a chance to recover, and Buckner's need a chance to recover, so I may not try to reposition them quite yet. But right now Hill's still pursuing the 20th Corps for the Union. They gave up the Ghost, and you can see they're pulling back. Hill's orders are putting him in a direction he doesn't really want to go in. I'm kind of hoping that he fails so that he can just stop and start recovering his forces. Maybe pull back so he can take the line of the breastworks, but I'm kind of thinking I'm going to abandon those. They're not really where I want to be fighting this battle. So, anyway, that's where we are right now. Alright, as we pull into, I guess 11 p.m. here, Longstreet has come on the board, and I got to start figuring out what that means in terms of my corps situation, because I get to split into 2 wings instead. And that's what I think I want to do, because I got one wing I want to use as my main attack force. And then the other, under Polk, I'm going to probably be defending the river line largely, and maybe up to there as well, after I swing around. We also have some more of the 1st Corps coming in. And that's leading me to think maybe my orders to the 1st Corps to cover this territory are maybe not the best. Perhaps I want to put D.H. Hill, I don't know. I got to kind of look at my losses here, because Hill's pretty healthy, but his forces are pursuing, whereas the 1st Corps is large but not terribly healthy. I may just pull Kershaw himself, his 1 unit, which is good, and attach that to Longstreet. Maybe look for something over here like the reserve or something that's not too bad, and attach that as well to Longstreet. Leave the cav to kind of guard the bridge. I'm not sure yet, but as of right now, we just have more troops coming on the board. This pursuit hasn't really done anything. You know, it's really hard to get effective fighting at night. There's a minus to the table. You take worse morale hits if you get hit. So we had units, you know, retreating, but that's about all. Alright, we'll probably make it through the rest of the night, or at least to here, without me coming back again. I'm looking at, there was something there. Oh, I'm looking at trying to program my orders for Longstreet or whatever to come at first light. Mainly I want to get Buckner moving then, but here's the problem. I also kind of want to make sure Buckner is healthy, so I may delay writing those orders for a while. I've got Buckner sitting here with Bragg, but I don't think I'm going to write him orders, because I think I'm going to make him part of Longstreet's wing. I figured I'd grab a little snapshot here at 3 in the morning. The Confederate forces deploying along the river, as I explained. Hood's corps hasn't started moving yet, but everything else is kind of shifting around, and it's okay. None of them really need to recover much, and for the Union, most of their armies recovered as well, with the exception of that 2-2 reserve unit, and then the 20th Corps back here, which got pretty badly mauled. But they have plenty of time, given that the Confederate plan is to sweep around here and try to swing across and just roll up the flank is their intention. It's not going to be the most easy thing in the world to do because there are entrenchments, but those are all facing this way. So we're kind of hoping to take them from the rear largely. Longstreet's got his orders. He can't start rolling on him until he gets here, though. 5 a.m. and Longstreet was damn punctual. He accepted the order here and effected it there. We got Buckner coming across, beginning to exchange some fire. I got Kershaw and Hill moving up here, ready to try to cut in that side. Whole big column coming up. That's going to be a world of hurt for this little segment here. The Cav is being left behind under Polk. Hill started moving too. I'm sorry, Hood. Hood started moving too. He's going to be taking his position up here. That's a defensive location. Okay, it's 6 a.m. The fight's about to start in earnest. It's already heated up pretty hard here against Reed's Bridge here. Hitting the reserve units, which were not in good shape anymore. Now, the first one engaged back here and was kind of driven back, and then we've swung B's Corps. I can't remember his name right now. My brain is just not working. Buckner, yeah. Almost entirely onto it. Now, he's taking heavy losses because the problem with a bridge is you can't cross a bridge when you're in line formation. So he kind of has to drive the Union forces back enough that he can get in here to get behind these entrenchments. Unfortunately, I didn't entrench back here. Oops. These forces have orders to take Reed's Ford along with Longstreet and then move on from there. So they can't engage the 14th Corps here, which also didn't entrench everywhere, it seems. They got lots of extra entrenchments in various places, but there are places where they weren't dug in enough. And I started forgetting to make rolls to see if they would. Anyway, these guys are only going to move in this direction right now until this has been taken, and then they can swing against the line. Longstreet's overall orders are pretty clear about that. A little earlier, McCook. No, not McCook. What's he doing there with Crittenden? I gotta find me my general. Where the hell's my main command? I don't know where Rosecrans went. Oh, he's under here. Okay. Crittenden went up to go talk to McCook for some reason, but now he's over with Rosecrans. I'm not sure what to do with him yet, but it looks to me like 21st Corps has no opposition and is basically guarding nothing. So the question is, do I shift it to try to defend and help 14th Corps, which I think is the wiser move, or do I launch some sort of attack here? And some of that comes down to what my victory conditions are. If we look here, the only entry hexes that are important are down to here. I don't have to worry about this A and B to the south, where my army was kind of out of position, but I do need to protect my main supply line. Which, given the circumstances, I think means an attack along here is not terribly efficient looking. It's obvious that Polk has built up a defensive line there. Whether I could bust through it or not is kind of irrelevant. If I could, it would be great. You know, then I could swing around and attack the Confederates. But things like that never work out the way you kind of picture them. This is not a static force. It's going to be a moving target. So I think my best move is to try to shift them across here. But even that may not be easy to do. I don't think anybody feels terribly bad yet, although the Union's kind of wavering mentally here, so we'll make a quick, hey, everything's pretty much the same roll. All right, both sides decrease in their army status. And I'm going to load this one up at this point because I think this is a decent point to break. I probably should have done it right back here before the engagement actually started, but I want to make a stop before we get into the heavy fighting of day 2, which is September 20th. I want to hit one quick note before I load this up about the status and the panic rules. This is an interesting battle because Rosecrans essentially does panic in the historical battle. No commander would do what he did in a game. There are external reasons for what he did. He left Thomas behind to defend the roads and the supply network, and marched back to make sure that he could prepare the defenses at Chattanooga. That's something that would have to be baked into the system somehow. And actually, maybe one of the reasons they chose not to do the Barren Victory 2 was that it required a decent amount of effort to come up with something that would be different, that would, handle the role that the army status and panic rules would handle in this game. Obviously, you could have something where the Union, can recoup some points by withdrawing a certain amount of force. But the problem is, Rosecrans got totally blamed for leaving Thomas there. It may have been militarily the best move he could have made, but it appeared to be, I'm fleeing from the battle, and Thomas was left behind to hold the gates. Perceptions are important, etc. It's hard to say whether or not Rosecrans actually panicked or was doing the wisest move, but it's also hard to say, that Rosecrans in any way fought to a draw or something when he withdraws from the field. Withdrawing from the field is almost a concession in terms of both the eyes of the nation when it looks at the results of the battle, but also in terms of a lot of gamers' feelings, unless there's some withdraw from the board type situation, which I don't think would be appropriate in this battle, because it was seen as the reason why the Union obviously lost.